Hi, my name is Joe and welcome to another edition of Joe's Technology. Today I'm going on a little shopping trip and you're welcome to come along with me. It's time for me to replace my primary workstation, the computer that I use to create all the videos that you've seen here on my channel so far. So if you like those videos, then, well, the machine that replaces it has to be even better. That's why, for better or for worse, my new computer will be based around none other than the EVGA GeForce GTX 780 Ti. Now this huge GPU is based on the reference design from NVIDIA. And why am I interested in a reference design card? Well, I looked at some of the cards, like for example, normally if I had my way I'd be buying a Gigabyte card. However, Gigabyte overclocked their version of the 780 Ti, and as a result there were many customers who posted reviews talking about stability issues. Whether this is actually true or not, I mean, it's always a silicon lottery. You know, you might get a good card that never gives you any trouble. But for this amount of money, I'm not really willing to roll the dice. I like the fact that this card has so many reviews, all of them saying that the card is excellent. So I can't afford to do this all that often. In fact, I probably shouldn't even be doing it now. Although my channel has no actual sponsors other than me, I guess you could say in spirit, this build is sponsored by Top Ramen and Skippy Peanut Butter, because that's what I'm going to be eating for a long time in order to afford this. But I tell you what, who knows, maybe I'll lose a little weight, and since I'll be gaming at with a 780 Ti, I think it'll be worth it. Now, this reference card is pretty big, and as a result, when it gets really warm, I'm a little concerned about its physical stability issues. I mean, the card itself supposedly runs stable according to all the customers, but I don't want the card to sag. So, fortunately, EVGA makes an accessory for this device. It's unfortunate that it doesn't come standard with it, but they do have a backplane available, and I'm going to go ahead and purchase that, because if I'm going to spend this much on this card, then another $30 just to make sure that the thing is has the proper back support is no problem. As you can see, this is an actual metal backplate. So this will screw onto the back of the card and provide support for the PCB. Now, in order to have a CPU that is able to work with this GPU, I took a good long look, and I thought to myself, I didn't want to have a CPU that would hold back this GPU. I mean, sure, you can get some really inexpensive processors. I mean, they can be had for as little as $30 now, but they're not going to be able to put out the data that the GPU needs, and it's going to sit there starved for instructions. So that's why I'm looking straight at the Intel i7 series. And in particular, normally, if this had happened a little bit sooner, we'd be talking almost exclusively about the i4770K, which has been the star of the i7 line for the last year. But the Haswell refresh is out, and Devil's Canyon is very cheap. Notice that this processor here is $334, or $339. You can have the 4790K. Why is that significant? Well, they're both i7s, they're both quad-core processors, but let's take a look. This one runs at 3.5 gigahertz, and this one runs at 4. So, for basically a difference of, what, $5–6, you end up with a bump of 500 megahertz. I mean, yeah, it's just incredible. So, for that difference in price, there's no way I'm not getting anything except a 4790K. So, in order to keep that processor cool, because I don't want heat attack my system, I thought to myself, what could I utilize? And back in the LGA 1155 days, the star was the Noctua ND-H14. So, now that we're in the LGA 1150 era, I thought to myself, then the only worthy successor had to be the NH-D50, which is specifically made for 1150 socket CPUs. So we'll see whether or not Noctua is able to do it again. I mean, the 14 was incredible, so the D15 has big shoes to fill. I'm still looking forward to trying it out and seeing how well it works. Now, to drive all of this, we need a PSU that's just not going to give us any problems. These are expensive components. They need their power, and they need stability. And yes, there are many manufacturers, and I'm sure all of them are great, but for something like this, I'm just not going to take any chances. I'm going to go straight to the head of the class and get myself a nice Corsair HX 750. So this way I have a gold certified power supply, and it has 750 watts available. Now granted, the system probably is not going to need that much, but you know, I have a 750 in the system that I'm using now, and I've already, again, it's a single GPU configuration. I've managed to actually freak this computer out and make it completely reset. Well, of course, I think I was playing Star Wars: The Old Republic on ultra settings, on the highest resolution that I could with my GeForce GTX 660 Ti, and at the same time I was batch compressing, I think 70 gigabytes worth of videos for upload to YouTube because I was impatient. I learned a lesson. I can either compress the videos or I can play a nice game at ultra settings, but I can't do both at the same time. Between the CPU and the GPU, they consumed way more power than the PSU was able to pump out. And like I said, that's just a single PSU configuration, and I was able to overwhelm it just by the amount of tasks that I gave to it. As you can see, this is a Golden Award winner from Hardware Secrets, and I'm not surprised. I've used Corsair power supplies. I mean, Corsair doesn't pay me or give me any kind of endorsements. I've just used them and not had any problems with them, so I keep coming back to them. By the same token, that's why I'm on Newegg. It's not that Newegg pays me. It's just I've bought parts from several different sites, and Newegg has given me the least amount of trouble. Well, actually, Newegg has never given me any trouble, so I keep coming back. Now, we have to put all of this in a nice case. One criticism of this reference card, if you read the reviews, in fact here, let's see if we can find one, is, here, let's see, some people say it's silent, other people are saying that it's fantastic, but then every once in a while, and let's see here if we can find one, there have been reviews where people have complained that the card whines. And here, let's see, great card, severe coil whine. And I saw this on a few reviews, so again, you know, it's a bit of a lottery whenever you're buying parts. However, it seems that most of these cards do well, but those that don't, I mean, the card performs fantastic. It never seems to have any problems with stability or frame rates, but it can be a little whiny. Alright, so what do we do about that? Well, I'm still getting the card. There's no bones about that. So I thought to myself, I wonder if there are any cases available that are specifically configured to dampening sound. Sure enough, NZXT has one. In this case, the NZXT H440, and I prefer white. This is just a personal preference because, you know, if it gets dusty, it's a little harder to see. Although it's difficult to see here in this photo, but I'll go ahead and I'll link out to a video from Hardware Canucks that shows a beautiful overview of this case. Inside, it's full of sound dampening foam, and this case looks like it should be able to house all kinds of good stuff, and they could make all kinds of racket in there, and you wouldn't have to listen to any of it. Oh, as you can see, the front of the case is actually flush. There's no space here for optical drives because it's designed to be completely sealed and quiet. You can barely see where it is the air intakes are along there at the top, that little strip. So the fans are going to have to work a little harder, but less openings means less opportunities for sound to come. For storage, I'm actually going to go ahead and do a combination of a physical hard drive and an SSD. The hard drive is just simply because, well, we still have hard drives. They're still pretty cheap, and they still offer a lot of storage. So I'm going with a Western Digital Black Series, and it'll be a 2 terabyte hard drive so that I have enough space for things like, for example, creating these videos. Sometimes the raw video data itself is pretty big before it gets compressed. However, for all the gaming and all the other good stuff, I'm going to go ahead and run those off of Samsung SSDs. Currently, this computer that I'm running in actually has 2 Samsung 840 EVOs. So I'm planning on getting 2 for this one as well. And as you can see, the prices are way down. This is a 500 gigabyte SSD, and as you can see, it's only listing for $269. And I mean, it depends on where you're at, but it may seem like a lot, but you know, we're getting down to like 50 cents a gig here. I really like the prices that they're going, because I'm used to the old days where I was paying $2 a gig or maybe $1.50 a gig. Now it's going down and down and down, so I'm going to get at least a couple of these for my system. Oh, and then one last thing that I forgot. We talked about a couple of things. We need a motherboard to put all of this onto. So in my case, since I was thinking to myself, if I have all these grade A components, I need to put them on a motherboard that is equally as good. And although I didn't pick their video card this time, I definitely am getting one of their motherboards. In this case, there's the Gigabyte Black Edition, specifically the GA-Z97X UDH5H BK, and this motherboard is specifically significant because Gigabyte tests the Black Edition boards for 168 hours. They say server grade, but that would also make it great as a workstation too, which is what I'm going to be using mine for. So basically they burn this thing in for around a week. Again, I'll provide a video link to Gigabyte has a nice video that discusses how they burn these boards in. You'll find that in the description below if you're curious. And so the price is a little bit higher, but as a result, Gigabyte will give you a 5-year warranty if you register the board when you receive it. So I really like the fact that the Black Edition boards have all been burned in. I mean, basically, if you got a DOA, it would be very unusual for one of these. And it's got all the ports and connectivity and everything that I would want. It even has, if you look in the picture there, an M.2 connector. So as the SSDs get a little bit better, I'm going to be putting an M.2 on this motherboard. It'll be great for things like virtualization or a little bit of gaming as well. I mean, many games use are focused more on reading data than writing data. A good example, World of Warcraft, Star Wars: The Old Republic, Terra, Rift. Any one of those is basically read heavy, and it writes most of its data to the cloud. Okay, now that we have our motherboard selected, the last piece is memory. In my case, again, I'm just going to, there are many good brands, and I'm sure they all have their good points, but I'm just not going to mess with it. I'm going to go straight to the Corsair Dominator. Corsair memory is actually what you find in the computer that I'm using here right now, and specifically the Dominator has been fantastic, so I'm going to continue using it. Now granted, it's not, I'm only looking at the 1866, so it's not the fastest in the world, but it's been so stable and so reliable that I really don't mind paying a little bit extra just to be able to get the Dominators. And in my case, I'm going to go ahead and actually get 2 of these kits. So as you can see, they're 8 gigabyte sticks, and I'll end up getting 4 of them. So this computer actually has 32 gigs, and the one that I buy here will also. So that way it makes it easier for me to run where you're probably wondering yourself, you're like, 32 gigs of RAM, Joe, what are you going to use that for? Well, what I use it for right now is virtualization, mainly. If you've seen some of my videos where I'm running virtual machines and I'm able to afford them lots of memory and they seem to run really fast, that's Dominator memory for you. I mean, sure, the CPU does its part, but those virtual machines need a lot of memory and they need to be able to have it run quickly. So Dominator, absolutely imperative for what I'm doing. Now, to make all this easy for you, if you're interested in the build that I've put together, I've gone ahead and gone to PC Part Picker, and again, this link will be in the description below, and it has links out to all the different hardware components in the configuration that I'm choosing for you to pick from. You'll notice that there's no operating system. PC Part Picker lives in denial. Because I went down here and oh, I guess it's not going to show it to me because this is not the this is not the one where you create it. But when you go in there and you try to pick an operating system, the only thing it lists is Windows. Come on, you know, there's Linux out there, there's FreeBSD, and Linux has gotten to be really great for gaming. Thank you, Steam. So I'll probably have multiple operating systems running on my computer. But at least you have a link to all the hardware. If you enjoyed this video, please like and subscribe. If you hated it, go ahead and thumbs down. Leave me any comments or ideas. I'd love to hear what your configuration is. And, well, who knows? Maybe I'm spending too much money on this crazy computer. But you know what? I'm going to have something nice and fun for once. Enjoy.